Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of this live LinkedIn event where we're interviewing people starting their careers or people like seasoned professionals, such as Mohammed here. So, thank you, Mohammed, for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to having a discussion talking about your past experience, what you're doing nowadays, and your company, Think Innovation, I believe, how it is actually doing things differently. So, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me on this live discussion. I really appreciate it. My sound might not sound very clear because I'm
Yeah.
under the flu that started yesterday, but I'll try to be as clear as possible. Thank you for having me, and I really appreciate being on your live show. Uh, so, how are you doing? What have you been up to as well?
I'm good. Like we're starting this stream events. We have some good interest from the from my LinkedIn network, and I'm hoping that whatever we share, it's going to provide value to first people starting with their careers that are interested in project management, interested in innovation consulting, and also possible people that would like to work with you in the future and with the guests as well. So let me get this started by asking you, of course, like people need to know who you are. So, who are you, Muhammad, and how did you start in your career? And what are the key decisions or moments that shaped your path? So, let's start with that. Who are you?
uh, as you mentioned before, I launched a new company called Think Innovation. I think innovation is a representation of myself as a person who's always thinking of how to do stuff, anything better, more efficient, more effective, in a very simple, innovative way. This My background is not really into IT or project management or anything. Actually, my bachelor degree was in marketing. Like unlike so many people, well, I still remember a discussion I had with my friends in school around ninth grade, like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And it was clear at that moment that he wants to be a pharmacist or a lawyer or join the military. I was like, I always enjoyed keeping my options open. Like, let's see what I do. Let's see where the train ride takes me. I always had that hunch in me, and that's when I joined university and doing marketing. And ironically, I never did any marketing work, but I did use this information that I gained when I became a business analyst. So, the right came from marketing. I went into project management, actually in waste management, where I worked with the biggest waste management company back then in the Middle East, and they used to send me to Middle East, North Africa, and Africa regions to perform surveys and quantitative studies. So it was interesting
Oh.
because that's when I started working in projects. Like we have this tender request for proposal to for
Mhm.
waste management in Kinshasa or in Gabon or in Casablanca and such. So I used to go and start working performing the study, how many trucks we need and such, but it was all based on project timelines and write the RFP and submit the bid for tenders. And from that, I enjoyed being in international space. So I took the decision to go do my master's in the UK in international
Mhm.
business management, which opened the door for me to join University of Glasgow as a researcher. Now, this is where the
Oh.
innovation story starts. I was assigned to develop a new insurance product into InsurTech, and this is where things started falling into place for me. Like I started managing a project per project timeline, and I started studying the business model of insurance, which when you start dissecting the business model, you start to understand how stuff work.
Mhm.
And it's a dinosaur industry, so we started innovating in that space, and here I am. From one place to the
Wow,
other.
like that's quite a big change. Like I started in IT and I'm still in IT, whether like it's normal IT or just like cybersecurity and stuff. So you went from marketing and you just found yourself in a new opportunity that you said like, okay, I will go for it. I will try my best to get the most out of it. And then you started going
Exactly.
more into the international business or innovation aspect of things. So,
Exactly. And that's why I'm very
wow.
interested in the business model innovation aspect. So for example, I come in and study how organizations operate, right? And
Mhm.
for example, in the insurance industry, you are under the assumption that you are buying an insurance premium, right? But
Okay.
actually, if you look at it, once your insurance term is over, you have nothing left. You have to renew it. So technically, you're not buying insurance, you are renting it. And we took
Mhm.
that concept that we are renting insurance and start developing a product that gives back to the insurance people who buy it. So, which created a gamification plan in place, which created a lock-in mechanism, kind of, to
Mhm.
remain with the insurance company because, as you might know, the biggest income is not generated from getting a new client. Actually, you spend tons of money to get a new client, but from retaining them as a client on a
Yeah.
repeated basis because you know their business, you know what their needs. You don't have to spend a lot of time understanding how stuff work within that organization because even within the same industry, two organizations are different in the way they operate. So it's the retention model in place that helped, for example, launch that product.
Okay. And what was exactly your role for that project?
So you're taking me back to 2016 when everything started. I was just given a blueprint, not even a blueprint, a title. We got funding to develop the world's first peer-to-peer commercial insurance product, and
Mhm.
no one understood what that is. No one understood how that would look like. No one understood how how it will function. So this is why we had to understand how the insurance industry works in the commercial setting, not the personal, not like car insurance or home insurance, but like commercial setting.
Yeah.
Like think for example a trucking company or such, and okay, start understanding the pain point of the people of the buyer persona, the buyer pain point, and start delivering solutions to these pain points. And
Interesting. So these kind of things, can you like are there transferable skills that you use across like innovation projects, or how does it work?
exactly. Now, after Glasgow, I went to the Netherlands, stayed there for a couple of years, and then we came back to Canada. And due to my previous work in the traditional industry insurance, I was able to gain access to legal industry, which is also another traditional industry. And this is where I found myself working first as a business analyst and within project management teams as a business analyst because now you think about everything I've done, the marketing. Now I have the marketing research to understand the client pain points, the user persona, the use cases, and put into it my approach to project management and put to it like finding a solution, like whether that's a process improvement, like innovation. It can be a process innovation, a product innovation, or
Hmm.
a completely different offering. So when this is when things started to come in place, and I've been working in the legal industry for 5 years now, with the insurance industry, and a couple of years back when I started being more active and started I, I I took a deep dive into who's me because I started understanding the personal branding, like the same way you have commercial branding, like for
Hmm.
example when you think about BMWs, you understand it is a high-end sports car. That's the brand of BMW. Now I took that concept and started applying it on myself. What's the brand when someone outside the room says, hey, we have Mohammed on our team on our call? What's the brand? And that's when I think started to it took some time, but that's when things started to fall in place, right? And that's when
Like a
I built
puzzle.
Think Innovation. That's the brand. And who's the better to represent it than myself? So that's 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 uh that's how
Hmm.
things fall in place. That's interesting.
That's very interesting. So let's take a little step back and like I'll take you back to the older days. Like, what would be a significant challenge that you faced at like early in your career, and how did you overcome it? I think like a lot of people watching the event now would appreciate. Maybe you remind them of something, or they will feel at ease saying, "Okay, this is not just me going through this." What was a big challenge that you had to go through?
Uh, So nothing comes easy, right? And from the outsider, people will believe that, yeah, he went to the UK, he did the masters, he found a job, he stayed there, but it's never like that. It's all about, first of all, you have to have a really deep belief in yourself that if you
Mhm.
set your, this is the really the right term. If you set your mind into something, you're gonna achieve it. As a Lebanese originally, when I went to the UK, I had a 2-year visa due to my master's degree. And the UK, for example, if you want to apply for a work visa, you only 2,000 visas are granted each year. So technically, the chances were 97% that I will not get one. But
Okay.
I kept on working for it. I kept on persevering. Even I remember the application for the University of Glasgow that I was filling it online, but because due to inactivity, you have to go think about an answer and come back, right? There was no chat GPT. The session timed out and I lost all the information. And sometimes
Well,
your first draft is better than the second draft.
yeah.
And I had to do it. That took like for 3 hours, for example. But I persevered. I did it. I applied. I even booked my ticket home, booked the seat, window seat, and the day I still remember it was on a Friday. I went to Glasgow and I came back and they sent me the email. Hey, we're more than happy to work with you. And I just went on Sunday back home. I came back the second Sunday,
Wow.
and I had a week to move between England to Glasgow to Scotland. So it was really too much to handle. But do believe in yourself. Do believe that when you go to any meeting, what value you're bringing into the meeting, what's the person in front of you is gonna get from that meeting, and own the audience, own it.
Mm.
For
Yeah.
example, you need to play mind games on competition. So I still remember going out from that panel interview. The interview was a panel, 6 people, the head of the dean, the head of business school, the professors I were working with, and the commercial people from the insurance industry. I remember
Mm.
coming out from that meeting. I was well prepared because I did my homework. I phoned up the business owner before going to that meeting. I interviewed him. His accent wasn't Scottish, it's Glaswegian. So I told him, I'm gonna not. I'm not. I'm sure I'm not gonna understand you 100% due to your accent. So I'm gonna record the call, and I connected with him. Now going out from that room, I saw the second person being interviewed. She that person looked a little bit unsteady. So I added to her. I told her, "Oof, that was one difficult interview."
You know, Arnold used to do that, right? In like championships, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he would play like mind
Yeah,
games on his
you you
competition.
you have to make the competition feel unstable, right? You want it, you have to work for it. It's not about you, it's also about making the others feel unstable so that you want that place. And I want it. I still I still uh
I, I love it. It's not about you; it's about the others.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so you have to make your own luck sometimes.
Yeah, what you're saying right now reminded me of something that I guess a proverb or something. Whether you believe you can do it or not, you are correct. So, like, you put yourself in a mindset that this is gonna be hard. This I'm not gonna be able to achieve this, and yeah, most probably you won't be able to achieve it. But if you think that yeah, I can do it, things will work out eventually. These are all lessons we picked up throughout the years, right?
Exactly,
They don't come
exactly.
easy, but after years and years in the industry or in the life, you start to see this. So that's very interesting. I didn't know. I didn't even know that story, and I've known you for a lot of years. I didn't know this. So
Yeah,
that's inspiring.
sometimes you have to create your own luck, and you have to outsmart competition to get a client. You have to outsmart competition to get a contract. You have to outsmart anything to get your feet in the door.
Yeah. I'll try to keep that in mind because the way I usually think is that, like, I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to pursue what they want to. And my father, like, he keeps telling me, like, isn't that gonna hurt you? Isn't that like somebody that's gonna take this opportunity from you? I'm like, no, no. Each one's fate is decided, but like,
Yeah,
I have to be more competitive.
yeah. So there's no harm in being nice to others and teaching them how to reach their goals, as long as, in my opinion, it doesn't come in my way. I'm happy to help
Mhm.
people to achieve their goals, but as long as it's not competing with my priorities, for example.
That makes a lot of sense. So coming back now to Mohammed nowadays from Think Innovation, how does your typical day look like for your current role? What are the challenges or the things that are interesting for you that you usually work on a daily basis?
So it all comes down to planning. I usually I as first of all, my day starts at 5:30. Kids, that's when the kids wake up. that's that's when the day
Mm.
starts. And family comes first. From that time until they go to daycare, I'm all focused on them. But afterwards, when I start, first of all, I make sure that I completed all the tasks from the previous day. There's no outstanding communication that I need to send out. There's no outstanding email. There's no outstanding whatever task I was focused on performing the previous day. I make sure that it has been performed or follow up on it with the teams. And after that, it's all about managing people, right? And so I have to first and all the projects that I'm assigned on, make sure that the stakeholders engaged, make sure that uh, there's one issue, for example, that we are it's being taken care of, that we are on top of it, and issues happen, stuff happens during any project life cycle, and you have to make sure that it is, as a consultant, that it is you're on top of it, the client is aware of it,
Hmm.
and not only that, but also a road to a solution. You have to always communicate what's the solution are. Now, sometimes the solution is outside of our hand. Like we need a decision, so we're on top of it, making sure that we get that decision within a certain time frame to solve it. For example, like one of the softwares I work with, they do monthly releases. Now, for example, if an issue appeared today, I'm sure that it will not be solved in May release, it will be solved in June release. So I have to make sure that it is communicated well properly to the stakeholder, to the developer, to everyone that is uh, being solved to retest.
Okay. Okay. So one of the questions I have about that is that first, how do you handle it? I know like you're a problem solver. From my end, I'm like a technical guy, and sometimes it's really hard to let go of the things like you want to fix it yourself. So how do you make sure that your stakeholders are engaged and they have the best interests of the project in their heart? And sometimes they have different projects, right? They're struggling with time management. They're like, okay, I don't have time for this, but it is a high priority for you to deliver. So how do you work around that?
So whenever I engage with someone, I need their presence in the project, especially at the beginning, to gather the requirements correctly and make sure that we can establish a trust in place. That I trust the person to be there when I need them for a solution, and they
Mhm.
trust me that I'm looking for their best in mind. So our approach to project management and consulting is that although I have my own product line, it's not the product line that is being pushed onto the client. It is what the client needs. So each client has different needs. Each client has different priorities, and I need to navigate their priorities. I work with lawyers. Lawyers bill by the hour. So if I'm taking half an hour from them, there there must be a reason, the compelling reason. So what I do is that I book a time with that person on bi-weekly basis, for example, or as needed, that we need to communicate these issues, have get the basics correct. And the basics are: get the agenda ready for the meeting, send out what's the expected outcomes from the
Oh,
meeting, and go to the meeting well prepared. And lots of the time, if you're meeting, this is a nice advice, lots of the time if you're meeting different stakeholders and if you're having an issue, don't show up to the meeting and bomb them with the issue. You will get different opinions. Instead, prior to the meeting, talk to them one on one, say, this is what we saw, this is what the issue is. This is how we see a way forward. What's your opinion on? Level the playground, not level the playground, but what do you say? Prepare them for the meeting.
yeah.
Like, this is what we're gonna be discussing. And when you go there, you have the consensus. At least two, for example, if you have three stakeholders, at least if two of the three align with the solution, that's how we get that's how you get the best out of their time.
Okay. I really appreciate that and thank you for that because a lot of times throughout my experience, you get invited by project manager and you don't know what to expect. You go on the call and they suddenly tell you, oh, we received this issue from the client and we need to think about a way to move forward. Well, give me some time to think about it. And you're just putting me on the spot. There is a brainstorming session, which is going to waste a lot of people's time, right? You have
Yeah,
five,
exactly.
6, 10 people on the call. If each one is billed at $100 or $200 for the company, you just wasted the company a few $1,000s for nothing.
Exactly, exactly. Now, you always have to make the best out of your time and the best out of your client's time and the best out of every stakeholder's time because you are working on one project, but they are involved with different projects and they are involved with different priorities, conflicting priorities. Now, if you're working with cross-functional teams,
Hmm.
uh, for example, you have to do training, right? But also the training team is also responsible for onboarding new employees. They're also responsible for updating documentation of any new products you're launching, preparing videos, content, video materials. So their time is precious. So, and there's no like working in a project management framework, you really have to adapt your approach. For example, you can't always say we're always meeting on Tuesday at 9 a.m., but sometimes you have to cancel that meeting because if there's no project updates for some reason or the other, like the solution is not up and running, cancel that meeting, tell them
Not a
we
lot of people
cancel,
do that.
cancel
Some
that
people
meeting.
just keep it and you just look at each other awkwardly and
No,
yeah.
I prefer to cancel that meeting. Let's regroup the next week, and that's when we have a better view of the solution. So, for example, I have a client meet with my client. I have a vendor meeting that was on weekly basis. Now
Hmm.
we found out that nothing is being discussed on weekly basis, so we moved that to a monthly basis. And whenever their need arises, we talk to the vendor and engage them. And the vendors are usually pretty engaged at that point because they did not deploy the software yet, so they still did not get paid. So they are very
Yeah.
responsive. And on the weekly meeting, we were discussing issues, but then when issues were not being, where the same issue persisted, there was no
Hmm.
reason for that issue to be discussed anymore at any stage except until the next release of the vendor, which is next month. We moved the meeting like bi-weekly. And once you decide, like, okay, this version of the release solved the issue, now we go back to on the weekly basis to make sure the proper testing is being done and
Okay.
launch it.
And you have to communicate that with the stakeholders that this project is going to be
Everyone,
pushed by a month or so.
everyone, everyone. They are the final
Mm.
decision makers eventually, but we offer our recommendation and they go for it or not. It's up to them. Otherwise, it's
Okay.
uh,
So tell me this. Most of the time, you're joining as a consultant, right? So for a lot of companies, whether you like it or not, you're still an outsider. You're coming to help them. You're coming to help deliver the project, but you're still this outsider that's coming that doesn't really understand the company culture or something like this. How do you navigate around that, especially that you have to deal most of the time with employees that might be a bit defensive? So that's a human psyche at this point.
so every place I've been to, they always bring this up, like this is how we do it here. Well, it's not about how this is how you do it, but this is well, we offer them an approach. This is about how it should be done. For example,
Okay.
lots of time I find my client has already met a vendor for a couple of demonstrations, 2 3 times, and
Without you.
without engaging us from the beginning. So I come and
Oh.
ask. So this is the tricky part, right? They tell me we want to work with Dropbox, for example,
Hmm.
and I start asking, okay, what's your issue here? Well, we need a document management system, and Dropbox is the solution for us. Well, why Dropbox is the solution for you? Well, because Dropbox do one, two, three. Well, my approach is that it's not what Dropbox can do, it's what Dropbox can do for me. What do you
Hmm.
want it to do? And this is where the gathering requirements become tricky because they keep referring back to the point where what a system does instead of what a system does for you. What I want it to do and what it does are two different things. And and sometimes we have to backtrack, like we make a list of requirements. Okay, this is what it does. This is what you want it to do, but this is what it does. Now, do you move forward with it or you want me to invite another vendor to this discussion and see their softwares? Working in the legal industry, sometimes you end up having to use the same vendor over and over again, even if they are not the best, but because they dominate the market.
Hmm.
but with the pace of innovation, pace of the ability to launch new products, so we see lots of new and upcoming players in the market. They might be get bought eventually by the vendor, but they are disrupting the market, or because they are able
Okay.
to provide a solution tailored for you.
Okay, so that's very interesting, which leads me to the next point here. What if you get invited for a project and the client already decided on a vendor? You know this is not the right vendor for their requirements, but now you're responsible for this project, for delivering it, and you know there are going to be issues. You know, like this is not going to satisfy need A, B, C, D that they said, like, we chose this vendor based on these requirements, and we cannot go back to choose other vendors because, hey, we signed with them, and now it's up to you to deliver.
Well, this is where my responsibility ends. Like, you signed with this vendor, I told you the pros and cons of it. This is what it can do. This is what it can do. For example, I was working with a client that wanted an HRIS software, and the vendor have two softwares. One is for onboarding employees, and one for
Okay.
like pre-boarding, like when you're still performing interviews and
Hmm.
CV analysis and such. The client was under the impression that both softwares, because they coming from the same vendor, they must speak to each other. When I came in, well, did you ask them if they speak to each other? No, but we assume so because it's A and A. Well, when we met with the vendor, no, they don't speak with each other, and that's something that I have to show to the client. Hey, they don't speak with each other. They don't have automation tools for in place. The most that the software can do is send automated emails, for example. Well,
Okay.
we still want to go with them. Okay, you documented under your RAID log
I was going to
that,
ask you, like, you make sure you protect yourself too, right?
yeah, you documented decision made.
Yeah.
Go with vendor A. 12:45 p.m. May 7. Decision made by stakeholder X. And if you can get an email, that would be great. If you're not, you need to cover the bases. You need to cover
Uh,
yourself.
okay. So let me throw a curveball here based on what you're saying. What if, a lot of clients that I work with personally, nobody wants to be accountable for a decision. So they like if they realize they made a mistake by choosing this client or choosing this option, they will not commit to saying, okay, I understand this is on me and I accept it. And for sure, they won't send you an email because they want to CYA. They want to cover their back. So how do you work with that?
So, first of all, the statement of work when engaging with a client should be very clear. It should also include a RACI matrix, which is who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted on the project, and and from that point on, any decision that is made, for example, if the responsible person is Mohammed Al to make the uh, IT security clearance for a software, I'm getting the decision from him, not getting the decision uh, from another employee, because he's the one responsible for it. Now he's gonna be the also one responsible for the accountability part. So erasing matrix, that's when it clears things up, and it's specifically in the statement of work. You have to state we're being engaged for our consultancy part in this project to select a product that meets the HR requirements, that meets the security requirements, that meets the client needs. And
Mhm.
this is where my responsibility ends. I keep the engagement, but it's the accountability part. You have to make sure that, hey, I'm responsible for delivering the project, but who's accountable is someone who made a decision in place or not.
Okay. And is this also how you also protect your company? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be responsible for a decision that you didn't make, right? So is this also the way that you protect your company so that your insurance provider is okay with you doing business?
Our approach is Our approach to business is a little bit different than other consulting firm. I like to have it a KPI based approach. So we're more accountable than others because whatever solution or automation I put in place, I am I make sure that it's gonna meet the performance requirements to 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 make the client happy. So I take more responsibility in this part than others, because I'm not here
Mhm.
just for the consulting part, not just talking words, but also about the implementation aspect, where you will be guaranteed X amount, so X X
Yeah.
return on your investment. So it is a double-edged sword, but I'm proud of that accountability part. That if we are unable to meet the performance criteria, we make sure that it's communicated at the beginning. For example, we drop it out, but most of the times it's all about meeting the KPIs.
Okay, that's very interesting. I commend that. I cannot do it in my business like the way of I do business because I'm responsible for security and I have to make sure that at the end of the day, yes, the client is responsible. I'm coming to give them my advice as an advisor or a virtual CISO, but at the end of the day, it's up to them to take that advice or not. So I've seen
Exactly.
like situations in the past where I almost begged the client uh, to let me upgrade their system because we found that there are vulnerabilities in place, and like it was something that's a little bit complicated. It just requires more communication, and with the project management or project manager that knows how to communicate with stakeholders, it wouldn't be an issue. But just because somebody in Europe like were freaking out about this, they asked us not to do anything. But at the end of the day, you got to protect yourself, so you send the client a risk letter, right, to say like,
Uh, what I see, that lots of projects that we start engaging with,
yeah.
they start one way. Now we try as much as possible to avoid scope creep, and whenever this
Mhm.
happens, we have to document it. So lots of times you're covered by documenting the decisions made of changing the scope of the project, or decisions made against our recommendation to go with the project X or product Y, and this is where your responsibility ends. Eventually, the ultimate decision maker is the client, and this is what we can bring in. Like when you're working with me directly, or you're working with a business owner. So a business owner is not only is also a decision maker in his own firm. So I can put myself in your shoes and make the decisions, and see you why making the decisions the way you are doing it.
Okay, I'll take that. That's interesting. So you do some kind of like change request if there's a possible scope creep, like if like just make sure that the client is okay with it. So the way you do projects, you said the statement of work. Do you do that usually like on a lump sum? Like I'm gonna bill you this amount for this project, and any change we'll have to rediscuss based on a change request, or you work on the hourly basis, or both.
So we have two approaches. So if I'm being engaged as a consultant only, I do it on an hourly basis. But especially this is very helpful when I'm just doing a product selection, for example. But if you are being engaged to help to develop a particular product for you, that's when we have a package where in which I involve the development team, and I involve my backend team to help develop a certain product for you. That's a different package.
Mm.
It always works. Each client are different. No two clients are the same. It even within the same industry, two people might have two different preferences. For example, one client would prefer everything to be hosted in the cloud. The other client would prefer everything to be hosted on-prem. Now, the next question would be, do you have the capabilities to host on-prem or not? That's a different
Okay.
questions. Like you need to perform an end-to-end selection, end-to-end analysis, and so two clients are different even within the same industry. That's my take. If each solution is custom made, is tailored for the person or the client that we're engaging
Okay.
with.
And you are an innovation consultant, and your company is providing like BA services, project management, as you said, also development for certain like products that the client would need. But like at the base of the heart of project management, people are resistant to change. So if you're going to an industry as old as insurance or a law firm, how are you also going to convince them like this is what's best for you, and you trusted me to come and give you my experience, this is what I recommend? Do you face this kind of
Yeah.
issues or not?
Yeah, change. People are resistant to change by nature, and there's a good book about it. It's called The Power of Habit.
Mm,
It shows you that how habit loops are formed within people. But to answer your questions, I have to show them the value this change brings to the organization. For example, I had a
mm,
client in which they had each year they would each year they would provide $500 health spending,
mm.
not health spending
Yeah,
account, but health spending. And the process to do
like
that
for
is that,
gym and something like this, right?
yeah, for gym
Gym,
membership,
treadmill,
shoes,
whatever.
shirts,
Yeah.
yeah, you get $500, and it's reimbursed on a yearly basis once a year. Now the whole
Hmm.
when we stumbled upon this when reviewing the documentation when onboarding a person for the HR, and I asked him, "Hey, what's this document about?" Like, oh well, each year every person in the firm, they have to manually fill out this PDF form, attach their receipts, and send it to the HR generalist, and the HR generalist would then send it to the accounting team who would authorize the payment, and it will be added to your payroll. And I was like,
Oof.
every single person should do it manually, internally. They said, yeah, well, I did a quick calculations on the spot, and it turned out this process is costing them more than $200,000 a year. And that's just by wasting everybody's employees' time, with that being a partner, a lawyer, or a oh, oh, sorry, there's an emergency alert. Okay. A partner
Yeah.
or a lawyer, they have to do it, and all of that for the sake of $500. Now that's not counting of an issues that's happening. Like, for example, this receipt is not correct, or I need additional information. We came up with a basic calculation that's costing them $200,000, and our recommendation was, why are you doing it? Just hand it over to an insurance company, and you don't have to deal with this headache, and you will free up everybody's employee. And whenever someone needs to reimburse something, they just go to the insurance company. That's not your process. And once they saw the numbers, I mean, everybody's on board. Like, the HR workload during that part of the year dropped from like 100% to almost 20 to 30%. Now that's alone is massive gain for everyone around, all around.
Mhm.
And this is how we show value. We show them how things are gone, how things are done, how things can be improved, and what you get out of it. Eventually, it's all about people are for effectiveness, right?
Mhm.
And machines are for efficiencies. So systems are for efficiency and people for effectiveness. And this is how we make the best out of it. Like, you make people more effective in doing their job and making any
Right.
process more efficient. And instead of me spending half an hour, although once a year, but that half an hour at a, at a lawyer's rate, that's a lot. For example, if a lawyer
Oh
who's
yeah.
getting $600, half an hour is $300. That's $300 of lost revenue that could have been done doing
Yeah.
something else.
I love that because I posted something about this in my not the latest edition of the newsletter, but the one before. And I'm basically telling IT consultants, I know you most people are value driven, but what you need to do to sell a project to upper management to convince them is to focus on the money. So the savings, the bottom line. If you're coming with a $1 million project and you tell them this project is going to cost you $1 million, but you don't communicate what it will be saving or how exactly it will be protecting you, then you are just adding to the cost center, and it's not gonna make sense, right?
And
So,
it's all about communicating the correct communication to the correct client. For example, if I'm going to sell an insurance policy to a coffee shop, right?
mhm,
And telling them, hey, this is a cyber insurance, and in case of you get a denial of service attack, DDoS,
yeah.
and they will not understand it. So I tried my approach in their own world. I'll tell them, look, imagine suddenly you have a lineup outside of 2,000 people. How many people can you serve? And what issues you're having? Well, that's how we approach each client. Like, we try to our approach to be something they can connect with, to make it relevant to them.
Mhm,
And that's why, again, two different clients, even the same industry, you need to approach them differently. And the trick here is not all about asking smart questions, where I always hear people need to ask the smart questions. Actually, the trick here is to make the person you're talking to not to feel stupid, to ask the correct
Uh-huh.
questions and not to make them feel stupid while answering your questions, because sometimes they know the answer, but sometimes and they never think about it. Then it's just if they start
You make
thinking,
them think that this is their idea, basically, and they're coming up with it.
yeah, and if they start thinking that they are stupid, they will start interacting with you. So you need to get your questions correct, the
Mhm.
right questions, not only the smart questions, and the way you approach it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's move a little bit to the emerging technologies. I know we still have like a few minutes, so I wanted to get your take on like what emerging technologies or trends do you see shaping the future in your industry? Like the first thing you talked about when like the system that you outsource for getting this benefit, which by the way for everybody that's listening, that's a taxable benefit. So it's $500, but it's gonna be added to your compensation. So keep that in mind when you hear about it from your company.
Yeah.
Uh, like the first thing I thought about is what if people are using AI to generate fake receipts, which is something like everybody on LinkedIn started generating these receipts. But in general, what kind of trends or emerging technologies do you see coming in the next few
Uh,
years?
right now we see lots of approach toward AI agents. And everybody would like AI agent and AI agent and AI agent, but it's not always the solution. And the issue
Mhm.
that I see is that you need to train the agent the same way you would treat an employee. So if you don't train it well, if you don't train the employee well to do the incoming emails or incoming phone calls, the AI agent will not be able to solve any issues for you. So before selecting an agent, you have to make sure that your SOPs are up to date, your approach is correct. You need to train it to do the job the same way you want it. There is a big move into it, and it depends on the industry. We need not just get on any product online. You need a specific product. For example, in the legal industry, security is a big, big,
Mhm.
big concern. Well, you don't need an agent that's communicating somewhere on the cloud. You never know where. You need the data needs to be stay local in Canada, for example, for the Canadian market, and
Yeah.
if possible to deploy it on-prem, that's even better. Or
Okay.
or
So
even or,
yeah.
or any LLM, if you deploy it
Yeah.
on-prem, that's even better than going on the cloud because that's where you control the data. You need
Mm.
to have maintain control.
Okay, so that's actually where you need people like me as well for this kind of project, because you need to look
Exactly.
at solution architecture. So one of the things I
Exactly.
keep, as you mentioned, everybody wants AI, everybody wants an AI agent, but if you don't have a proper architecture in place, you don't know if this agent is using your data to train itself, and somebody could manipulate the agent, like another installation, to say, how does this company do it? I said, oh yeah, I have the documentation for it. Here's the information. So you have to have proper containerization in place in order to make sure that your data is protected. And so that's pretty cool. And what you're saying is exactly what I'm hearing from other consultants in the field. They go to the company, whether it's a bank or like any other institution, and the first thing that senior executives want, we want AI. How can we do AI? They don't care like if it solves an issue. Like they just want to make sure that they can speak with their stakeholders or shareholders and tell them we are doing AI, whether it's
Exactly.
that's fixing an issue or not.
Exactly. Now the thing is, AI have been around for a long time, but it's just right now that it's being out to the public. And the way AI has been trained, like if you go back to the roots, it has been all about automation, but now it's all about adding uh, information to it. So
Yeah. And
so
unlearning. You said that
and
word a few days
learning.
ago, and like it really stuck in my head. Unlearning. It's very important.
Yeah.
Look, before I let you go, I have two questions for you. If you
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
couple of minutes. Okay,
Sure.
so the first one is what skills or qualities do you believe are essential for success in your field?
Uh, First of all, you have to work on your soft skills to understand, to reach out to your client. You have to work on your soft skills and you make yourself relevant to him. So you can't talk, for example, if you're a car dealership and the client
Mhm.
comes in asking for a minivan because they have four kids, you don't sell them what you would like. You need to sell them what they need. For I would like a Ferrari. Oh, but we have the Ferrari here. Everybody wants a Ferrari, but the Ferrari is not the solution for them. They're looking for a
Yeah.
minivan to take the kids to soccer. So first of all, you really have you really have to understand your client, know them, do your research, and connect with them on a personal level and a professional level. And it's all about life is a learning curve. It's all about what you learned from me today, you might need to unlearn it to the next client tomorrow. And
Mhm.
because each one they might have the same problem, but they don't need the same solution. Due to different issues in place. You need to unlearn what you did for someone to do it for someone else positively, not in a
Interesting.
negative way.
Okay, thank you. So the last one is like, what kind of services exactly for people that are watching the stream? What kind of services exactly does Think Innovation provide nowadays? If you can give me like explain like I'm five, what kind of projects or interactions do you do?
Before engaging with any client, you need to engage with Think Innovation because we help select the solution for you. That is solution selection. We help selecting the solution for you. We help with developing the solution for you. And lots of the times, it's a little bit tweaked to your process that you don't need to even uh, buy a big solution for it. Some process improvements in place. So we offer selection, project management, and even implementation. We also do product implementation. So that's what we do. We help you do your job better while you are in the business. We are working on the business to make it better. So that's
Oh.
what the clients gain from us.
Okay, so that's really eye-opening. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for joining us today. I know, like you said, you're sick, you're struggling with something. So I hope you feel better. Thank you again for sharing your knowledge for new people out there and even potential clients that are looking to solve an issue. I really admire your work ethic. So thank you again, and I hope that we do another call maybe in the future, something like this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on this call. It's really interesting. It's always nice to talk to you, talk to the audience, and we're always here for any issues or anything else. We're always here for you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye, everyone. So
Bye.
this will be recorded. You can watch it on YouTube or on LinkedIn if you want to go back to it. And please reach out to Mohammed. I'll make sure that in the about section, like his coordinates are there, whether it's the website or LinkedIn profile. So feel free to reach out to him. I know he likes to connect also with people. Ask him any questions if you have, and if you have a project that you're struggling with, also please feel free to ask him. So take care, everyone, and thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Have a good day.